Okay, it's time for today's CSS battle. Let's see what we've got. Okay. Don't really like this, but let's start with listed template. Set this background to that. Then give some margins here. What about 10 and 80? Let's just check how close we are with those. Okay, 80 is nowhere near big enough. 100, 110. Okay, 110 brings that in nicely, and 20 gets that. So that's good. Now we will do a radial gradient. 110, 220, 180, 90. We also need one key. Why have I got nothing? Oh, because that's the wrong colour. It's supposed to be that colour. That'll help. And then shift it down 40 pixels. Perfect. Go to a radial gradient. What, that 20 pixels round. So 1Q. We're also going to shorten that just purely because we can. So 90 pixels. Let's make this 20 pixels. Then transparent. Then to 0 minus 100 pixels maybe. 100 is too far. About 80. 80 would be spot on. Those look like they're going to be 30 pixels. Let's make it 50% wide. Nope. 60, 70, 80. Move it 100 pixels over that way is too far. 80, 70, 60. Yeah, that does it. I don't think we can use 80% here. So 60, 60, 140, 140. No, 60 and 60 is 120. 120 off of 180 leaves us with 60. So we want a 120 pixel gap. There we go. That's those two in the right place. That's got to be 10 pixels and transparent. At 50%, 10 pixels. some of these would probably be easier if I just, gave it some out values rather than shifting them, but whatevs. Now then, I think what I want in the very background is a conic gradient. So 110 to 195 to 85 pixels in. I want that to be about halfway, I reckon. So call it 20. Let's call it 150. Let's see. 3/4 of that. Transparent. So narrow that down to 2 to 2. We're going to make this 95 wide. So let's do 0, 0, 95 pixels. And 150 pixels. Now we need to minus 100 pixels maybe. Okay, where's my crossbeam gone? 150 I needed. So let's try minus 120, 130, 140. Well, that's never gonna work. So what do we actually want to make that? Let's make that 160. And minus. Minus 110. How about minus 105? See, that gets me there, but I've still got bits stuck out the bottom, which is not what we want. Let's just make that 60. How high is the entire thing? 20 to 280 is 260, so I want it to be 140, probably 130, and minus 90, 85. See, here's the problem. If that wasn't there, we'd be laughing. In fact, if we move that up 10 pixels, we'll be laughing. Okay, I think that should all work. Let's see what happens. Submit. It might be sticking out a bit still on the sides. In fact, indeed, it is. happens if we do 10 pixels in from the side, so make that 75 pixels, then make the, no, can't do that, you won't get the actual cross that way. Because you only need one of these, that was if we make it at 220 pixels and then shift it up 200 pixels first off, 100. Oh, take away the, $60, $70, $80, $175. That might actually have it. There we go, 100% match. Let's go minify and unit replace. Also take off those two. Okay, that's not a great score, but it is a score. Right, now, how else could we do this? Let's start with just nested template. Do I actually want, yeah, let's have, then let's change this background to 222. Get some margins. $50, $60, $70. Okay, 100 looks perfect. Border radius 50%. That's me. Now then, if we then let's set color to 2222, then do box shadow. Minus 40 pixels, minus 100 pixels. Well, that's not going to be right anyway. Minus 50, minus 60. 60 looks about right. 120. Okay, that looks about centered. Then 0, and then minus 50 pixels. About 60 pixels. Perfect. And then just do 60 pixels minus 120 pixels, 0 minus 60 pixels should guess the other one, and then do 0 on the x-axis minus 140, 0 and minus 50 pixels maybe, 60, 70, 60 is perfect, 70, 80, there we go. That's all the circles done with box shadows. Then all we need is that cross, which I think could probably do on the background, but I think I'll use 2 linear gradients to do it. Let's just submit that first. Let's do a linear gradient. It in 195 pixels, shift it down by 30 pixels, 10 pixels wide, fuck it, 100 pixels deep, and no repeat. That gets us that line. We use one more linear gradient. This time around we're going to go from about the middle of this ball to we'll call it 140 to 260, so 140 to 260 is going to be 120 pixels wide. This only wants to be 10 pixels. That 30 is more like 70, 60. 5. There we go. And we can submit that. And there we go. That's another 100%. We can also take off that from there. We can take that off there. Deminify, unit replace, and submit. Cool. So much of a better score. I think 1 character less. So yeah. If I could get that cross in a different way, if instead of let's just grab these bits for now. We're not actually going to use them exactly like that, but we'll grab those bits. We'll start with base template. We'll throw one paragraph in first off. We're also going to paste this, but we're going to just temporarily comment it. We'll use that later. This background is this color. It's 50 pixels. Height 50. Background 222. margin, 30 from the top, 160 from the side, not quite big enough, 70, we'll cover that lot and that lot, how about 70 that way, and then we're too far over, so how about 150, 160, okay, we'll go 150 and then we'll go one bigger on each of these numbers. Okay, let's move this to 155, 154, 153, 152 would be perfect. Right. And then rather than that background being that, it wants to be a 62, 195, 35. So if we do a conic gradient at 35 pixels, 222, 75%, and then transparent for 0, and then make it 0/35 pixels, 35 pixels. No, 45 and 45, you idiot. And then make that a 0 as well. That gets us those. Right, that is that cross. And then all we need is one more element. So we do second P. Second P. That was why is that so small? Is that actually the box shadow? Is my real question here. Right, so no is the answer there. And it's because this isn't. Okay. Width 180, height 180, then margin What's that giving me an eclipse? Not a... Back in the box shadows, and they're also okay. We're in just the wrong place. I've got 102. There we go. Then we can go clunk clunk. That gets rid of that much. Minify, unit replace. That's longer than the previous solution, so that's a bit shit. But I do like the box shadows for all the circles. It's the width and height that, yeah, we're only using 2. So what happens if I do minus minus s 80 and do var s and then just do saves us a few characters, I think. Doesn't look like it did, but whatever. Still 100%, which is nice. Is there anything else we can chop out of here? Well, we could get rid of that 0 and just change this margin, but it's just going to be a higher minus number and it's going to go over 100 and we're not going to save that much. So I think that is where I'm going to leave it. Let's load up the best solution first. So what do we get? 264 characters is our best, which was using the box shadow and some very cheeky linear gradients. We can actually save a couple of characters because that doesn't need a space there, that doesn't need a space there. I'm not sure if you can do it. No, you can't do that. That's good, that's good. Oh, that would have been close. Okay, let's do that. And that is where we're going to leave it. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.